All right, let's see where we're going. Seriously, how many should I order?
Ask them how many they have.
Turn left.
Due to blur out the golden arches.
You've entered the parking lot for your destination.
Let's see how good an intro you can give here.
Can I do the intro now?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome to McDonald's. I'm gonna be ordering apple pie to recreate it. Pretty good. Nailed it. Can we please order 8 apple pies?
You want an 8 apple pie?
Yes, please. Hello.
Apple pie?
Yes, thank you so much. You too. They're so cute. Comes warm, caution hot. First impression is the smell is not great. Like the whole car smell it's creating is not great, but the actual, once you get closer, you get a little bit of apple and mostly some cinnamon. It's like very pale. Although it's got some browning around the sides. You know, it looks like it came from a fast food restaurant, which is what I was expecting. I like that they did they're going for the cute little lattice. This corner looks good. Oh God. I'm gonna bite from this corner because it's the most browning and there's a little piece of apple right there. Didn't these used to be fried?
I think so.
Now they're baked. Pastry is not good. I mean, what do you expect? Pastry is crumbly. The flavor is not good. It tastes like there's some oils in there. The apple pie filling tastes like apple pie filling, which is to say there's cinnamon in there and there's a lot of thickener and probably not that much actual apple. But for an apple pie where they have to make millions of them, it's not, it could be worse. This is gonna be fun to recreate. I'm kind of excited about this. Thank you. I really like this in concept. I love that it's a little hand pie. I love anything you can eat with one hand. I know I can make this taste really, really good. I mean, look, as an engineered product, they did a pretty good job. But it doesn't taste that good, I don't think. I'm used to eating homemade pastries, so it's my palate is skewed that way. So I wanted to taste, when I bite into it, I want to taste apple and I want to taste buttery pastry. And I'm excited to make something that does all the same things, but tastes much better. I'm gonna go for something close in size and overall dimensions, but pastry shrinks when you bake it. So I have to remember to account for that shrinkage. The overall length is 12 centimeters. Width, 5 centimeters. Height is almost exactly 2 centimeters. The length of the slits, about 2 centimeters. The number of lattices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. When I say lattice, I think a lot of people think of pie where you are overlapping and crisscrossing strips. But there's another style of lattice, which is this one where you have a single piece of pastry and you cut slits and you stretch it out and it does create a webbing. There's quite a bit of this kind of interstitial jelly. That seems like what most of the filling is, but then there's pieces of apple kind of dotted throughout. I'll give them credit, there's some apple in here. They're actually more like slices, I'm surprised. I pictured them to be more chopped in texture. They're kind of between that 2 and 3 centimeter range and thin. This is very typical of a mass-produced product where it's on a conveyor belt. It has that texture of a conveyor belt running through an oven. I can tell you from tasting this, there is no butter. Butter is not economical. If you're making a billion of these, you're probably not picking butter as your fat. And I can tell that it's an oily taste. So right off the bat, I know I'm gonna do a butter pastry with butter and apples. It's a no-brainer. And I still want some of the goo, but I want it to taste really good. So I'm still going for this kind of glossy, in my case, cornstarchy coating. I love this type of subject for recreates because this is a pantomime of a homemade product. And I just get to make it. My version's gonna be the one this was trying to be, instead of the other way around. You know, understand what I'm saying?
I get you.
Okay, so.
What's your game plan?
My game plan. I got 2 basic components to make. I gotta make the pastry, I have to make the apple filling, and then I assemble and bake. Fortunately, due to US law, we know what's in these, because they have to publish the ingredients. So I'll tell you what they are. These are the ingredients in McDonald's baked apple pie. Apples, good start. parentheses, apples, ascorbic acid, salt, citric acid, close parentheses, enriched flour, parentheses, bleached wheat flour, niacin reduced iron, thiamine mononitrate, riboflavin, folic acid, close parentheses, sugar, palm oil, water, apple juice concentrate, modified food starch, invert syrup, contains 2% or less, yeast, salt, cinnamon, sunflower lecithin, L-cysteine, parentheses, dough conditioner, yeast extract, enzyme beta-carotene, parentheses, color. This is a shorter list than I thought it would be, actually. It's like, in concept, a very simple apple pie, and I can do that. Even though I can make this, I am gonna do some research. McDonald's made the decision to discontinue the fried pies in 1992, opting instead for a baked version to appeal to customer preferences and dining trends. In 2018, the apple pie got a modern makeover. The new recipe contains less sugar and fewer ingredients overall. I see. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna make my pie dough, but make it as if I were making more of a short crust pastry, so finer pieces of butter, because I don't want so much puffing action. 390 grams. And I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of sugar. So this is a style of kind of tart dough that's not really sweet. I'm not doing a sweet style. I think there'll be plenty of sweetness from the apple pie. I need 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, 2.5 sticks of butter. You want the butter to be really, really cold.
How many times have you made this dough?
I mean, I've made this pie dough with these quantities like 1,000 times, it feels like. But I'm generally making more of a pie dough style pastry than a short crust pastry. So I don't like usually do it by hand. I don't usually get out the food processor. How many of these am I trying to make? 8?
Yeah.
Bake them on 1 sheet tray. When I do pie dough, I don't actually cube it, I slice it. Because I want the butter to like flatten into these sheets, but I'm cubing it here because I just want to break everything down into like more uniform sizes, more little bits. So I'm gonna pulse this. And I want the butter to be broken down into like pea-sized pieces. This is pretty good. You still see discrete butter bits, and then there's finer pieces as well. The lattice thickness is pretty thin, like in between those slits. If you have a big piece of butter, the butter's gonna melt and you're gonna be left with like a hole in your pastry. So like a finer texture for like finer work, basically. All right, so now I'm gonna grab a measuring cup because I need 2/3 of a cup of water. And here I'm using ice water. Important, keep everything really cold. Oh my God. It's a little over. Okay. And now with the motor running, I'm gonna stream in the water. Sorry. And so the butter's gonna get broken up into finer pieces because now I'm gonna run the motor. And I want this to just form like a cohesive dough. Okay, this looks really good. I'm gonna get this on the work surface. So I'm just gonna bring this together. Actually, I'm gonna divide it in half and form 2 different pieces. And I'm gonna try to form them actually into squares, make it easier to roll out. This particular dough is perfect anytime you're making like a tart. Anything in a tart pan. You could use this for quiche, which is a type of tart. It just has that finer texture compared to pie dough. So I'm gonna wrap these in plastic. And I like to use the plastic to help me form it. And I want the pastry to roll out into rectangles. So I'm gonna try to form it into a rectangle at this stage. That'll make it easier to maintain that shape later on. You don't really see any discrete butter pieces. The butter is like totally worked in. It's smooth. Okay, and these are gonna go into the fridge. They need to firm up. I already have an idea of what I wanna do for the apple filling. I have a couple of Honeycrisp and a couple of Pink Lady, which are sort of my go-to baking apples. I'm gonna do a pre-cooked apple filling. I'm going to like macerate the apples. So it's gonna mix them with sugar, it's gonna pull the liquid out, and then that liquid is gonna get thickened. And so I'm gonna have this mixture of like apples plus like other filling binder. It's funny, there's something called a chaud sans pomme, which is like an apple turnover. So delicious. I can make some chaud sans pomme. It's basically the McDonald's apple pie, is a chaud sans pomme. I cut down and around the core to avoid some tedious coring. So when you slice an apple, you want to slice with the tip of the knife. If you slice with the middle of the knife, you have so much contact that it's going to stick. And then you have to like take every individual apple slice off. But if you slice with the front of the knife, the apple stays on the surface. So I'm slicing these about between 1/8 and 1/4 inch thick. So I have pieces like this. I'm going to cook them. So they're going to release some juice and shrink a little bit. I ended up slicing 3 of the 4 apples. The 4th one we just snacked on. I'm glad I tasted it though because it's very sweet. And so it kind of gives me an indication of how much I want to sweeten these apples. Now the pastry is not going to be very sweet, so all the sweetness will come from here. But still I'm going to hold back a little bit. I can always add more. So I'm going to grab some of my granulated sugar. I'm also going to grab my demerara sugar. I don't want to go overboard on brown sugar here because it's not in the ingredient list, not that that matters, but it does turn the whole filling like a brown color. And I like that golden color that it has. So I'm just going to add a little bit. And I'm going to add demerara instead of brown because the color is a little lighter. 2 tablespoons each, demerara and granulated. So it's not that much. But I need the sugar here because I need the sugar to start pulling the juices out. And I'm not worried about the size of the crystals of the demerara because those will dissolve. Because once it pulls the juices out, that'll make the sugar dissolve. A pinch of salt. I'm going to add some vanilla extract. Not in the ingredient list, but something we want in here. A couple teaspoons. And I'm going to grab my cinnamon. I'm going to go with like a 1/2 teaspoon. I think it'll be plenty. And now I might add just a splash of apple cider vinegar. I considered lemon juice. I like apple cider vinegar in apple recipes. That little jolt of acidity from like a vinegar or lemon juice helps to just bring out the flavor. And these are pretty sweet, so I think that'll help balance it out. Call it a 1/2 teaspoon. Now I want to just toss all this together. One ingredient that I'm thinking about, I put this in apple pie recipes sometimes, but I don't know if I want to use cocktail bitters. I like using orange bitters or Angostura bitters because it's kind of like adding soy sauce to a recipe. It's like an aged product that kind of flavors the background of everything. It adds like a little jewel tone and it's just these sort of like unidentifiable complex flavors. I kind of do want to add it. And I think also it'll help warm up the color a little bit.
What is jewel tone?
Jewel tone? Just like a very rich, deep color. Referred to as like jewel tone. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought that was some sort of flavor term.
No, just like a very saturated, rich color that's like a ruby or a sapphire or an emerald or something. These are aromatic bitters. It kind of smells like root beer, like bark, in a good way. It's very brown though. Let me see if we have Angostura. Angostura is like red. Aha. Okay, so I'm gonna add maybe a teaspoon of the Angostura bitters. It smells like warm spice and like clove and I don't know, just a lot of really good stuff. So I'm gonna drizzle this over. Maybe a little more, maybe a teaspoon and a half. Ah. Okay, so you see how it's kind of reddish. The mixture's already looking kind of wet and there's already some juices pooling at the bottom. I want to cover this and I want to let this just sit and, as we say, macerate. So it's meaning like let it sit in contact with sugar until the juices are drawn out. So I'm going to kind of compact everything down into the center and cover it with plastic to prevent browning. Set these apples aside. Let's have lunch.
Cut.
So the apples have been macerating for a little while. The cooking is going to be kind of like a shallow poach, sort of. It is kind of golden hued, which is nice. So I'm going to put everything in here. And I might add a splash of water because, of course, there's going to be some evaporation. And now I'm just going to cook these over the stove on sort of like medium heat, I guess. And I just want them to look softened and translucent, so they'll lose that like raw crunch texture. I forgot that a couple weeks ago I got an induction, like a single induction burner, portable, for just this purpose, so I don't have to keep moving back and forth. This is a good chance for me to taste this. Let's see if I need to change the balance of anything, like add sugar, add cinnamon. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit because I don't need it to boil that vigorously. But I want to evaporate so much of the liquid. The bitters are good. I think the cinnamon is good. The bitters and the cinnamon together do something really cool. Like, it makes it really spicy in a good way. I think I want to add a little more vinegar to up the acidity a bit. I don't really feel like it needs more sugar. It's pretty sweet as it is. So I gotta keep going. It's just simmering. So here's what happened. I cooked all the apples. They're translucent and they're soft, but I didn't have them covered, and literally all of the liquid evaporated. In the case of making like pastry and filling, that's actually a good thing to have like low liquid, but I want some liquid so I can add cornstarch and thicken it to make the kind of like connective tissue of the filling. The original ingredient list had apple juice in it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the apples out, put them back in the bowl. There's a faster way to do this. I'm gonna take about a cup of the apple juice. I'm going to warm it up in the skillet. I'm gonna also melt into it maybe 2 tablespoons of butter, just sort of thinking about what seems like the right amount. Maybe more like 1.5 tablespoons. I think it needs some of the richness of the butter to kind of round it out. Then I'm gonna grab a little bowl and a couple of teaspoons of, just trying to decide how much, oh, I didn't turn it on. So this is gonna warm up. So I'm just trying to think of how much cornstarch do I need. I think 1 tablespoon is probably too much. I'll start with a couple teaspoons. And I'll dissolve that in 2 tablespoons of the apple juice. Stir that with a fork. This is my cornstarch slurry. You always need to dissolve cornstarch in a little bit of liquid before you add it to a greater amount of liquid, otherwise it'll like clump up. I don't really need to reduce this, I don't think. If I reduce it, I'm worried it's gonna be too sweet. I mean, there's no sugar added, but I don't wanna add too much sweetness. So now that this is up to a simmer, I'm gonna add my cornstarch slurry, whisk it in. It's not really thickening it. It's weird. I didn't add enough. It's a little thick and I didn't have enough thickening power. I'm gonna add more cornstarch. Another 2 teaspoons. Maybe the fat's doing something to it. Let's see. There we go. It's a little bit thinner than I was picturing, but I don't think I actually want to add any more cornstarch because there's a lattice and there's like the slits in the lattice. There's going to be evaporation during baking. So this will further thicken or lose more moisture. So now what I want to do is I want to add some of this mixture back into my apples, and I'm just going to add enough that I feel like the mixture is bound and the apples are kind of like coated in it. I still want it to be mostly apples. So I like how they look really nice and glossy. So I think that'll do it. That looks really good to me. So now I want to taste it and go in with any adjustments. I'm glad I added the butter. I like the amount of vinegar. It's not too sweet. I think maybe it could use a little more cinnamon. So I'm going to add just another 1/4 teaspoon. Half of it just flew over. Just fold that in. Yum. Okay, I'm happy with this. I'm gonna stick this mixture in the fridge so it can get cold. It's gonna help me during assembly. I have one piece of the dough. The other one's still in the fridge. First, I'm gonna roll out the bottom, which is just gonna stay as like its flat piece. And I have a piece of parchment paper on a sheet tray, so I just want it to be kind of the dimensions of the sheet tray, and I'm going to try to do like 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, all from the same sheet. This dough is a little bit wetter than when I make pie dough. It's gonna create a little bit more elasticity in the dough, and I think it's actually gonna help me with the lattice. It also makes it easier to roll out. The shape isn't very even, but I'm trying to get the thickness really even. A little bit stuck right there on that end. I just wanna get this onto my prepared baking sheet and back into the fridge so it stays nice and cold. So the filling is it's not cold, but it's not at all warm. It's cool, which is good. If this were warm, I would need to pause and let this cool off more before I would have put this on the pastry. So I need a 4 centimeter wide, like, tunnel. So I'm gonna cut 3 centimeters wide. It's gonna pipe something that's sort of circular, and then I'll like flatten it down. I'm gonna do a little test. The whole thing is 12 centimeters long, so about 11 centimeters by 4. I think this looks pretty good. Maybe even want a slightly bigger opening. And then I can use like my little offset to sort of thin it out. I think that looks good. I mean, it's pretty good. I'm gonna cut an even slightly larger opening. Feels nice and cold. What I should do is actually make some marks for myself though, just as far as where the filling is gonna go. This is just gonna help me, I think, place them. So far I feel really good about this. I feel good about the height, the dimensions, the texture of the filling, the amount of apples. It's like actually a lot of apple fit into a small space. And I'm just gonna keep going and do all 8. This is gonna go back in the fridge. I'm gonna pull out the second piece of pastry, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll it out. This piece feels a little firmer, like a little less wet, a little better mixed. When I divided them, I probably had like more of the dough that was on the bottom of the food processor bowl on one side, and then that was the wetter one. It's gonna be a little easier to roll out without sticking. The rectangles need to be about 6 centimeters wide, and I'm gonna say 12 centimeters long. 24 by 24. So I actually need something kind of square. So I think I'm at a good thickness. It's okay for me to cut rectangles larger than I need, so that's what I'm gonna do, just to make sure I have plenty of room to work. Start bigger, give yourself plenty of space. I've been kind of manipulating this, so I actually want to get most of this back into the fridge. So I'm gonna transfer these pieces to my little sheet tray here with parchment, but I'm gonna leave one out, and that's the one that I'm gonna use to sort of make my mini game plan for how to form the lattice. So what I want to do is kind of establish a little bit of a midline because there's some overlap. So I'm just using my paring knife to cut some slits. It's a little tedious to do this on each one. You sort of accordion the pastry. It's very delicate. And you sort of stretch it over the filling. And I might not have to even really pull it apart much more than this because it'll shrink and kind of continue to separate in the oven. I think what I need to do is I actually need to make further slits. And this is gonna help the elasticity a bit. So see how I get a little bit more stretch with the ends cut? I wanna see if I can roll this out again and try again and do another test. Oh, the rolling pin's wet. Disaster. Okay. Part of me wishes that I had a tool where instead of cutting through the pastry, I could punch. So rather than using the knife, I watch a lot of cleaning videos on Instagram, and sometimes I buy the stuff that they use, thinking my house will be that clean. And so one thing I bought was like a set of scrapers that come with plastic razor blades for like scraping stuff off. And so that's what this is, and I cut it. It's a plastic razor blade. But it's kind of perfect. I'm just testing this out. I think I'm figuring it out. I think this is not going to be perfect, but here I have on my sample 5 lines on this side, 4 on that side. I made them a little too far apart. See how these are a little thinner? What I would want to do is just make these little cuts to help me open it up. It's getting a little soft because it's been sitting out, but like that's pretty good. I have to make them a little closer together, but I successfully got sort of like the 5 on one side, the 4 on the other. The first thing I'm gonna do is gonna beat an egg because I want to have that done before I move on to assembly. Okay. I'm gonna grab the pastry, the squares. I'm going to keep the other ones on the baking sheet, and that's going to help actually to keep them cold because the baking sheet is cold. With my 7 remaining squares, I'm going to basically do exactly what I did here, making this so it's a little bit closer together, but using the exact same technique. I'm going to grab the bottom crust and the filling from the fridge and start to assemble. Okay. One positive thing to note is that the filling didn't spread. That cornstarch mixture is nice and tight. So the egg wash I have is the glue that's gonna keep the lattice and the bottom crust together. And I'm gonna use it, my pastry brush, just to wash along the edges, right along the filling, thin layer. And actually maybe I'll just do a couple at a time so the egg doesn't totally dry. I feel like it looks really good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I'm just going to press. And now I'm going to trim away just some of the excess. What I really need are these. I might just try to flatten the filling a little bit. So now I'm just going to keep going. Same technique of just kind of draping that lattice top piece over the bottom with that egg wash. I do have one concern. The concern is that the surface of the lattice top has dried out a bit from the flour. And sometimes that can cause cracking, like you just see that in the oven after it bakes. So what I want to do is I'm going to rinse my pastry brush. Maybe I'll just spray it. I'm just going to spray like mist from a distance, a little water to try to hydrate the surface. I think that'll help, I really do. And now what I want to do is just go back in and really press firmly to make sure I have full contact with the pastry on all 4 sides of every single individual pie. I think that mist really helped actually. It feels much more, more hydrated. Okay, while those are freezing, I'm going to preheat the oven. They only really need to freeze for like as long as the oven takes to preheat, and I'm going to preheat to 350. I want like a nice sort of medium steady baking temp for these. I don't need like a blast of hot air because I want to initiate, you know, puffing, because there's going to be something like flaky and layered. It's just going to kind of bake like medium and steady. The oven's at 325. It has to just come up to 350. So I'm going to grab the sheet tray from the freezer and start to trim them and make sure they're all nicely formed. I think the move actually is to separate them all and then trim them individually. This is why I like freezing pastry. You get these really clean lines. It's not frozen solid, obviously, but it's really cold. Okay, so these are definitely too big. So I have to go through and trim each one to size and see how they're very different in size. I might also get a fresh piece of parchment because this one got a little wet. Although maybe it's fine. I'll just get a sill pad, maybe I'll do that. They might end up a little bit wider than I originally intended, but I think that's okay. They don't feel soft, but they also don't feel, they kind of like thawed quickly from being out of the freezer. Do I want to put them back in the freezer for 5 minutes? Maybe I do. I don't think I want to do egg wash because I think they're going to look, I think it's going to make them like too burnished looking. But the question is, do I want to do a little heavy cream? Because it's going to also help to hydrate the surface. And then it adds a little bit of fat, a little bit of sugar, and it browns. I could even do milk. Maybe I'll do milk. I think this is the right call. Milk, which is mostly water, but has, you know, a little bit of fat and some lactose in it. It's not going to make it brown excessively, and it's going to also help hydrate that surface a little bit. The concern is that if it's really dry, it's just going to get cracked looking in the oven. Freezer for 5. Come on, kitty, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, kitty. There's a little Wrangler cat. Okay, go. Oh, sorry. Sorry, cat. Okay. All right, I'm gonna put the apple pies in the oven. I think they're cold enough. Oh, God, bring go. Oh, kitty, you gotta move. Kitty, you gotta move. Go to Uncle Cal. Go to Uncle Cal. Kitty. Oh my God, are we gonna have to do this? Just go up here for now. Yeah, good, okay.
You're afraid he'll climb in the oven?
I just don't want him anywhere near the oven at all. Okay. I'm gonna set the timer for 15 and then I'll check. And I'm just gonna keep a close eye on it. I don't know how long they're gonna take. Okay, we'll see. Right, kitty? They look so good. There's been some nice, gentle puffing. of the dough. They're very pale. They need to stand for longer. I want to get some nice golden color on them, but they look incredible. I'm so excited. They look so good. Glad I did that milk. I think it helped to encourage just very nice and even browning. I like how in some places the filling bubbled up a little bit, but it stayed put. There's no big air gaps. They didn't shrink too much. I feel like they look delicious and so good. So these are obviously hot. I'm gonna transfer them to a cooling rack to cool, but we'll come back and taste. Here, should we just look at the bottom real quick? Nice.
Looks like it was on a conveyor belt.
In a good way, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna do a little side-by-side comparison. Here's theirs. Obviously a homemade one is gonna look better. One comment on mine is there are vastly different sizes. I thought I was trimming them evenly, but obviously some are much bigger than others. The size is not exact and it's also not consistent. I sort of picked one that was like the closest in size. They're all a little bit longer than the McDonald's ones and some of them are much wider. I think the lattice was like super successful. The weight feels similar. Mine is definitely heavier, but mine also has way more apples in it. Mine also probably has slightly thicker layers of pastry. The pastry did puff a little bit and look at how nice and caramelized the bottom is comparatively. Really beautiful golden brown. So I'm gonna cut it in half just to take a look. There's a lot of apples packed into those halves. I love the browning. And the pastry on top is like fully cooked through, lightly golden, and there's a little bit of flakiness, which I'm happy to see. It's not overly spiced. It even could have a touch more cinnamon. The apples are nice and soft, but they're not mushy. And most importantly, you get this really nice buttery pastry flavor. It's like tons of fine little layers. If I were making these to my own specifications rather than to the McDonald's pie, I'd probably bake them for a little bit longer, get even a little more color on them. I also wouldn't mind maybe like a little sugar on top, but then that changes the surface texture and so it doesn't look the same, but super delicious. I would make this. I would make this and like just have these as a dish. A little apple hand pie. So good. The apple pie you make at home is always gonna be better than the one you buy, I think. And it's so rooted in like pastry technique and just, I've made a bunch of apple pie, so this is really satisfying. So more like this would be great, but we're always taking suggestions, so we'll have more episodes for you. Leave comments below, and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.